Okay, good morning. I'm Assistant Sheriff Brett Zimmerman, and I'm here to brief you today on additional details about the officer-involved shooting that occurred on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. This is OIS number 4 for 2021, fatal number 2, and at the same time last year, we were at OIS number 6 and fatal number 2. The date, time, and type of call was May 4th, 2021 at 8:16 p.m., and the call was an assault battery with a gun. The location of the OIS was 2775 Fremont Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89104, which is in the downtown area command. And the map's to my left. And just for further info, although that address is on Fremont, there are a lot of apartment complexes that back up to each other, and one of the addresses that the other parties were in was a Charleston address. So as you see from that map, they're all wedged in together. Our involved officer was Officer Eric Lindberg, spelled Lindberg. He's 37 years old, and he's been with the LVMPD since 2014. In this incident, Officer Lindberg was armed with a Smith & Wesson MP-15, .223 caliber, equipped with a tactical light. The investigation revealed he fired 2 rounds during the incident. Officer Lindberg is assigned to the Tourist Safety Division, Downtown Area Command. Our suspect is a William Holt, pictured to my left. He was a 49-year-old white male adult, 6 feet tall, weighed 225 pounds. His weapons. In this incident, he was armed with a .308 JLD Enterprises rifle and a .223 branch rifle. Mr. Holt's charges following, if he had survived, were attempt murder with a deadly weapon, 3 counts, assault with a deadly weapon, 3 counts, assault with a deadly weapon on a protected person, 3 counts, discharge of a firearm at or into an unoccupied vehicle, 6 counts. Details of our OAS. On Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at approximately 8:16 p.m., the LVMPD Dispatch Center received several calls from citizens reporting they heard gunshots at an apartment complex located at 3040 East Charleston Boulevard. At the same time, the LVMPD ShotSpotter system detected gunfire in the area. Arriving officers saw 2 males running through the apartment complex. One of them had a firearm in his hand. Officers issued verbal commands to the subjects who complied, and they were taken into custody without incident. Both males stated to officers that they were walking through the apartment complex when a white male started shooting at them. The suspect was later identified as William Holt. Mr. Holt was shooting at the males from behind a wall that is in the adjacent apartment complex located at 2775 Fremont Street. One of the males told officers that he returned fire in self-defense. Both males also told officers that the shooting was unprovoked and they didn't know Mr. Holt. Officers were able to locate Mr. Holt's apartment and were in the process of setting up containment when he stepped out of the doorway and he fired 1 round from the rifle. After firing the single round, Mr. Holt walked back into his apartment. Officers were not sure if Mr. Holt was firing at them or at the other citizens. The incident was then to be treated as a barricaded armed subject. So at this point, we try to slow the momentum, call in additional resources to assist us in contacting the suspect safely, but in this case, Mr. Holt's actions did not allow us to do this. Officer Lindberg had his rifle deployed and took a containment position. About a minute later, Mr. Holt came back out of the apartment's doorway again, armed with a rifle. Officers stated he pointed the rifle at them. At that point, Officer Lindberg fired 2 rounds, striking Mr. Holt. Officers approached and started to provide medical aid to Mr. Holt. However, he succumbed to his injuries, and he was declared deceased by medical personnel on the scene. Through the course of the investigation, crime scene analysts recovered 6 spent shell casings on the ground below Holt's apartment, 5 of which were fired from a .223 rifle. The other shell casing was fired from the .308 rifle. Additionally, the .223 rifle recovered from Holt's balcony had experienced a malfunction and a round had jammed in that single rifle. I will now show you body-worn camera video of the OIS.
Control Baker 76, give us a red. There's two people that just started running northbound to the complex. We're going to be next to F. They saw something near building F and they started running. They won't get us any further.
Hey!
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands! Drop it! Get on the ground! Control Baker 76, we have one with a gun in their hand. They're putting it down. Get over here! Get over here! Get away from the gun! Over here!
Yes, sir.
Get over here! Get your hands behind your back.
I'm trying to tell you shit. Hey, tell me what's up. Get back, get back. He starts shooting at us.
Who did?
The guy, I don't know.
Somebody up there, up in the apartment.
You good.
That's my phone.
Hey, Baker 76, copy and update.
Yeah,
Break.
my shit.
We have the gun in custody. They're saying that somebody to the west complex. Let me see your hands!
Oh.
Get on the ground!
He's with us.
Somebody in the west complex is shooting at them, apparently.
He's up there, bro.
Who is it?
He's up there on the team.
White dude over there to the left. He's right there. Wasn't none of
They're saying a WMA was shooting at an elevated position in the apartment complex to the west of us.
Right there, the door's open, it's dark.
Get behind cover.
It's dark. It's to the left.
Whatever
On the second floor
whatever
to the
complex
left.
is going to be to the west of us, it's building 4.
Hey,
Do you have any other weapons on you?
Look, no.
What's that?
My other shit is in the house. Everything else in the house. He's shooting a shotgun. He's a white guy. He's shooting a shotgun.
All right, give it. Hey, stay.
Okay, so this is a separate part of the apartment complex. Our uniformed officers arrived, saw individuals running. One was holding a firearm. So these are the individuals who were originally involved in an altercation with the white male adult, basically unprovoked. And when I say altercation, one of these individuals, while they were being shot at, had fired back at Mr. Holt while he was shooting at them. So upon our officers arriving on scene, it's very dynamic. We don't know what's going on. And of course, the officers came in the back way from where they had gotten information that Holt was actually shooting his firearm from the elevated position in the other apartment complex. I'll now move on to the second body-worn camera video.
Second story, building 4. My partner saw a WMA on the balcony. He went back inside. The people we have in custody who had a .413 handgun on them are saying that he was firing a shotgun at them. Break.
Right there, John.
Where?
Right here, coming up. Let me see your hands.
Where?
Right there. He's standing up with no shirt.
Oh, fuck.
Get back.
876 shots fired. He just fired shots at us. Hey, stay down.
John, get back.
We're code 4 officers are not hit. He fired
see your
one
hands.
shot. We're going to need a rifle deployed over
Let me
there.
see your fucking hands.
Hey, careful. You guys just stay down.
Okay, so that's the second video. So at that point, we're attempting to contain the individual. Our officers are behind cover. He then comes out again, as you see on the video, and just indiscriminately fires in the direction of the citizens and our officers who are behind cover. The next body-worn camera video will be actually of the rifle deployment.
Doors open. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. You got it? He's got a gun. Shots fired.
Control 8, I'm 70. We have shots fired. Our subject came out of the apartment.
Still got the gun.
Still has the firearm. We have shots fired at OIS.
Good.
Good. Where is he?
He's down. He's down in the doorway.
All right, subject is down in the doorway.
Okay, and again, that was the last video that shows him. Doesn't actually show him because our officers were behind cover. We don't have video of him exiting with the rifle, but you heard their traffic over the radio and to themselves that he then exited the apartment again with the rifle, pointed it downrange towards them. So in order to protect themselves and the citizens out there, the officer fired 2 rounds, striking Mr. Holt. I can now take any questions if anybody has any.
Had you ever had any contact with Mr. Holt before? Is he known to the department?
What I do know is that he had some minor, when we checked, nothing major. He was a victim of some crimes, and he had some minor crimes years back, but nothing that would put him on any sort of radar. He did live in that apartment complex for a very long time.
At this point of the investigation, do we know why this person was doing this, just shooting randomly to other people?
From what we know and what we have three victims and 3 witnesses said they were just outside and he came out and just started shooting at them for no reason. And we have not only these 3, but other residents within the apartment complex. When we canvassed people who were coming home, they actually said that when the individuals who returned fire at him, that some of those residents said if this individual wouldn't have returned fire at the gentleman shooting a rifle, that they may have gotten killed, and they had saved it, that these 3 individuals we originally had stopped had saved their lives. Those were some of the statements, that he was just and he had shot at 6 vehicles. We found rounds with 6 vehicles in them. So that tends to add to that story that as people are pulling in and driving in, he's just indiscriminately shooting at people.
Was there any toxicology report on this guy yet?
We don't have that yet. It usually takes up to 6 to 8 weeks to get that.
Back to the victims. Are any of them facing charges unrelated, just for having the weapons and that sort of thing?
From what one of the gentlemen who we stopped was open carry, and the firearm was legal. So he was defending himself, and no, they won't face any charges. Yes, sir.
Can you kind of speak to the chaos of the scene? We see these videos all the time. The officers show up and trying to figure it out. Can you kind of speak to this situation? This seems like a very fluid and chaotic situation, right?
You know, from my experience, you get there, and it's never what it seems. I think the details of our original call were individuals were shooting at each other, and now they're gone. So when our officers come in the back way, they come across these 3 individuals that you first saw in the video. Now they have to move forward. They're getting information from those first 3 individuals. We don't know what information's correct until we vet it, so they vet it. They then move forward to the other area where they say they were being shot at. They see what the first individuals are telling us are true, so now you've got to manage those 3. Then you have to manage the individual up at that residence who's armed with a rifle. And from what I know, when I was en route there, the watch commander was already working on getting a barricade set up because we want to contain the guy in the apartment and contain him and take it to the level where we have a peaceful end, where we call negotiators, we call SWAT. But I mean, from start to finish, I believe it was maybe 10 minutes. If you look at the time of the original call was at 8:16, so you go maybe 10 minutes from the time we get the call to the time shots are fired. And during that time frame, he just wouldn't allow us to. We didn't have the time to end it peacefully because of his actions. But yes, a very chaotic scene. You have uniform officers, you have other officers showing up, and then you have people. And if any of you were out on that scene, you have to contain the street. You have to stop people from coming in and out. Luckily, we knew where the shots were coming from.
How's the officer doing in this all?
The officer's doing fine. Very good mindset. Yes, sir.
Just want to confirm the logistics. He comes out, fires a shot, goes back in, and comes out again and points the rifle. Is that correct?
Correct. You heard them on body-worn camera when they were behind cover, I believe, on the second video of the officers who showed up who didn't fire. They took up a position of cover. As they see him exit the residence, he fires around towards them, and you see them kind of jump behind cover, and the camera gets a little bit wobbly. That's when the other officers, because he was 50 or 60 yards away, the other officers who showed up with the rifle are trained for that type of situation, that we're not going to indiscriminately start firing handgun rounds 50, 60 yards away, because you've got a bad backdrop, you've got an apartment complex, you've got other residences. So the individual who showed up with the rifle now sees the individual come out with the rifle. Our guy with the rifle sees him come out with the rifle, and he fired 2 rounds, obviously ending the threat. And that's what they're trained to do, especially from a long distance like that, where a long gun would come into play and be very effective because it's very accurate.
And the rifle that he fired, which one was that?
His rifle, the officer who fired that rifle, he was armed with a...
I'm asking the suspect which rifle he fired.
Well, we know he fired from a 223 rifle, which he fired 5 rounds, and then he also fired from a 308 rifle, which was 1 round. The 1 round that he fired on the rifle was, there was a jam, like I had said, so what we believe is the 1 rifle jammed, and he went to get another rifle to start firing with that rifle, which he was able to fire more rounds until our officers were able to stop the threat.
Did I hear you say that one of the guns was jammed up on a balcony, and then what weapon did he have when the officers found him?
Basically, the 223 rifle recovered from Holt's balcony had experienced a malfunction and was jammed. Both of the rifles were on the balcony with him. One was leaning upward, I think in the picture. He may have leaned the one that jammed up against the wall, and the other one, but there were 2 rifles in his possession up there on the balcony.
And the door you're talking about the suspect came out of, that's a balcony door, not like
I'm sorry, it's an apartment door, but it's got a balcony. When you walk out of the apartment, there's kind of like a balcony type area to get up to the apartment. So it has a balcony as you're walking in.
He's on the second floor.
Yes, ma'am.
So he has an elevated position on
Yes.
How dangerous is that?
That's very dangerous, and obviously that was a big concern for the officers, that he's elevated. He can see a lot more than we can see, especially, like I said, the original call. We had no idea what was going on until we talked to those citizens, because we just get calls of indiscriminate gunfire up there, and then as we start getting more information, you know, the red flags start going off. He's in an elevated position, he's firing rounds, he's shooting at vehicles, he's shooting at citizens, so yeah, it was a pretty dynamic situation.
I understand since 1 October you guys have done some training for that kind of situation, right? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we had there was an after action report done in regards to October 1. We had a lot of tactics and training that we had looked at. There was probably over 100 recommendations from that report. A lot of it had to do with dealing with suspects at higher elevations and how we could address those situations. Some of the training that has come out of it, for instance, is when these officers were out there on the crime scene and you had the officer who fired the rifle, some of the training that we're teaching in the academy is they have a spotter. So the officer who's on the rifle doesn't have to concentrate totally. He can just totally concentrate on the threat where there's somebody beside him looking also and giving him information because he may not see anything. But that's kind of some of the basic training that's come out of it for our patrol officers. There's a lot more, but that's one of the more important things out in the field. Okay, thank you all for coming.